Last night, everything was burning for the occupiers. Absolutely everything. From missile systems to command posts. From command posts to ammunition depots. Madyar wiped out 3 battalions of Russian scum in just one day. And now Russia is threatening him with elimination. The Russians are literally going mad and have declared Madyar target number 1, along with Kirilo Budanov. That's what today's episode is about, friends. But first, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and leave comments. Just look at how furious they are, just how furious the occupiers are, that now they want to take revenge on Madyar. Subscribe to the channel, and so as not to waste your time, I'll get started right away. And to begin, friends, I'll start with these shots right here. And secondly, about how last night went, because in fact, the night of January 30th to 31st was truly something else for the occupiers. It was hellish. Everything was burning, from the temporarily occupied territories of Ukraine all the way to the deep rear of the Russian Federation. Friends, what needs to be said here? The General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported a whole series of pinpoint strikes. Let's break it down point by point. Where exactly the strikes landed, where they hit, and how exactly they hit. Let's start with the temporarily occupied territories, specifically Luhansk region. Near Kamyanka, our military found and destroyed a Tor anti-aircraft missile system. M1. Take a look at it, please. This is the photo they showed us. I'll show you now. This is what it looks like. This is a very serious blow to the enemy's air defense, to the enemy. Plus, believe me, this machine is not cheap. On the temporarily occupied territory of Zaporizhzhia, the strike was even more precise. There, in the area of Rivnopilia, an enemy drone control center was destroyed. Basically, to put it simply, it's like blinding their artillery and drones, damaging the brain of this sector. So now, no artillery, no drones, nothing at all. Apologies and thank you to our defense forces for this. Nearby in Voskresinka, an ammunition and equipment depot belonging to the occupiers' motorized rifle brigade was blown up. Also, friends, our fighters targeted concentrations of enemy personnel. The enemy near Rivnopilia, Privilia, and Uspenivka in Donetsk region. Another enemy command post ceased to exist near Poltavka, the command post of the motorized rifle regiment. But the loudest strike was the operation on the territory of the Russian Federation itself. The loudest strike of the night, of course, was in Bryansk region near Slukovsk, where another drone command post was destroyed. In short, it went well. That's how they hit the command posts. Plus, on top of everything, there was also a strike in Crimea. There was quite an explosion there. I'll tell you more in the next episodes. Apparently, the information is still being updated right now, but some details have already emerged. We'll leave that for a separate episode. Why are these strikes so important, friends? This is not a coincidence. These are not random shots. This is a system. It's a planned effort to reduce the enemy's offensive capabilities. When not just infantry trenches are being destroyed, but specifically command centers, depots, air defense, and intelligence systems. In other words, the army is gradually losing its ability to fight. And this is exactly what Ukrainian forces are doing right now. But there is a unit that has turned this work into something more than just a tactic. This is true art of war. And that's without exaggeration, without pathos, without pomp. SBS. And now, the commander of the Unmanned Systems Forces, Robert Madyar Brovdi, has released a video address that not only talked about the results, but also revealed new and very impressive targets. He said 2 key things. First, about the scale. Just for a second, friends, Madyar says we are destroying today 3 enemy battalions every day. 3 battalions, just imagine. A battalion is anywhere from 300 to 800. Some even say up to 1,000. It depends, of course. So 3 battalions is roughly up to 3,000 occupiers every day. Obviously, it's not possible that we destroy 3,000 occupiers every single day. So the numbers can vary. But roughly speaking, 1.5, 2, or even 3,000 is absolutely realistic. Yes, again, that's just from SBS drones, only from drones. And Madyar says, look, that's not enough for us. 3 battalions a day is not enough. His goal is to destroy the enemy by a much greater multiple, he says. And for this, he offers a solution. We need to move our soldiers as far away from the front line as possible and make it so, Madyar says, that the Ukrainian soldier strikes from a distance without risking his life. Because a person is, well, I don't want to say the most valuable resource. The word resource doesn't really fit when we're talking about people in our case. But it's the most valuable thing we have. And people need to be protected. They are the future. Madyar clearly explains the logic behind the work of the SBS. Right now, they are covering the tactical level, meaning directly on the front line. But the goal is to move up to the operational level. What does that mean? It means influencing not just individual battles, but entire operations and the overall strategic situation on the front. And they'll be able to do this once other army units build up their own drone capabilities and can independently hold the tactical front. When that happens, the SBS will become a strategic tool for victory. I think they're already becoming that, friends. Here's a simple analogy. Right now, the SBS are, let's say, conditionally speaking, snipers covering the infantry. But their goal is to become long-range artillery that changes the entire balance of power. Now, friends, I want to share with you some shocking, absolutely insane numbers regarding enemy losses and explain why the occupiers have chosen Madyar as their #1 target for elimination. I promised you numbers. I promised to tell you why the Russians are so furious with Madyar and want to take revenge on him. And for what? Well, let's talk about that right now. The thing is the contribution of the SBS, the Unmanned Systems Forces, over the past 7 months. This is not just a report, friends. This is, a manifesto of a new era of war. Just take a look for yourselves. Over 832,000 combat sorties. Almost a million. It's simply an armada in the sky. Over 168,000 targets destroyed. And that's just in 7 months. I'm not even counting the last month, which is January. From a soldier in a trench to a warehouse 100 kilometers away. 50,238 occupiers. That's the population of a small city. That's an entire army. Equipment, 532 tanks, 7,627 vehicles, 5,548 motorcycles and mopeds, artillery, 2,500 artillery pieces. All of it was taken out. The power of unmanned systems. And most importantly, friends, these aren't just rough estimates. Every target is recorded in the Delta system with coordinates, photo, and video evidence. This is verified information. The estimated value destroyed is over $20 billion. Just like that, gone in a flash. That's about 350 strikes deep into Russia's rear every month, dealing blows to the aggressor's economy. Billions more in damages, losses. There are more recent statistics as of January 17th. We're still waiting for the end of this month, and on the 1st, things will already be clear. We'll make a separate conclusion. But as of January 17th, in the first 17 days of this month, the SBS struck 5,069 occupiers. Madyar even wrote back then that the goal for January is 10,000 sent off. That's a bit less than in December, but these are still colossal numbers. And tomorrow we'll find out if the guys managed to do it, to reach that mark or maybe even break December's record. And all of this is great, really, but what do these numbers actually mean in practice? So let's think about it. Look, according to reliable sources, the monthly losses of the Russian army from all Ukrainian drones in December alone, let's take December since that month is basically over, though tomorrow we'll know for sure, amounted to 33,000 units produced. Well, that's an approximate figure, a division. Now, the question is, how many people can Russia mobilize and recruit from those same prisons every month for contracts and so on in total? Well, friends, it's 30 to 35,000. There's a connection. You see, the fact that our drone operators are now working almost to zero means they are destroying nearly the entire monthly influx of manpower. The enemy, whom the Kremlin is trying to throw into battle with extraordinary effort, and each time it becomes harder and harder for them. I'm talking about the goal of increasing the destruction of manpower to 50 to 60,000 per month. By the way, Fedorov, the newly appointed Minister of Defense, also spoke about this recently, if you noticed. Imagine if they actually managed to do all this. What happens then? It will no longer be zero, but a systemic negative. The Russian army will begin to shrink in numbers. And this is a direct path to the operational failure of their offensives. Yes, Russia has also created its own types of UAVs, but here we have a key difference from them. Their tactic is an offensive with massive, cheap infantry. And nobody needs that. Our tactic is defense, attrition, and precise strikes. And for us, every new operator on the road means reducing the chances of enemy infantry advancing. That's why there's such a large-scale recruitment in the UAV forces right now. 15,000 new operators. This is work for a future victory. And now, friends, we are moving on to the main question. Why exactly Madyar? Why exactly Madyar provokes such hatred and fear in the enemy? Just take a look at this screenshot. The answer lies in what the occupiers themselves write in Russian propaganda channels. I quote, "Not even Budanov, but he, Madyar, should be #1 on the liquidation list because no one else has as much of our soldiers' blood on their hands as Robert Brovdi." Of course, they also add lies about so-called civilians to justify their hatred and so on. But the point is they understand it correctly. Madyar is the incarnation of the new Ukrainian army, an army of technology, intelligence, and a systematic approach. SBS redraws the map of enemy losses in red every day. SBS publicly sets goals that seem impossible at first glance and systematically achieves them. Well, that's true. I'm not being paid for advertising. I'm just telling it like it is, friends. Honestly, that's no exaggeration. To eliminate a commander like Madyar means trying to stop an idea, to halt the flywheel of technological warfare that Ukraine has set in motion. But as the classic once said, this idea can no longer be stopped. And the fact that Madyar is now target number one for Russian forces means that he is doing everything right and doing it successfully. So, health and life to our warrior. To Robert Madyar Brovdi, that's the story, friends, with which I wanted to wrap up this episode. Let's drop some likes for Madyar and the guys from SBS. Let's support the other guys as well, of course, because our defense forces are strong and impressive. And of course, it wouldn't be fair to focus on just one person. We love everyone, we respect everyone, and we thank everyone. A reminder about our fundraiser, the details will be in the description. Thank you for watching this episode till the end. And to Madyar, wishing you good health and respect for your work. Glory.